this episode, we have the pleasure of speaking with Videlina, a passionate advocate for holistic alternative medicine and a certified Innate Postpartum Care Coach. She emphasizes the importance of community and extended family support during pregnancy and postpartum. We will discuss how her work empowers parents through community connection and a deeper understanding of neuroplasticity. Join us as we uncover the profound impact of family and community support on the parenting journey. Hello, everyone. We have Videlina with us. Could you please share a bit about yourself and a bit about your background in front of our audience?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Margarita, for your invitation and for this possibility to speak today about my work and postpartum care. So my name is Videlina Deneva, and I'm from Bulgaria. As you, 34 years old. I have lived almost half of my life abroad. So when I was 18, I left to Denmark. I studied and lived there for 7 years. And in 2016, I moved to Germany, to Berlin, to study holistic health medicine. And yeah, since 2020, I work as a holistic health coach. I integrate neuroplasticity coaching in my work and also postpartum care, which is also holistic preparation for the families and their community specifically.
Fascinating.
Yes.
And what did you do before doing holistic medicine?
Before that, I went to Denmark because I got invited through an international program for learning the social work and organization in Denmark. And afterwards, I just loved the country and the culture, and I decided to continue studying design and business. So it was design technology in clothing industry. That was my profession. So I have done lots of things in this area, and I focus in fair trade and sustainable fashion because, human was in the middle center for me already back then. Yeah.
Nice. This is really amazing. But how did you decide to go to the postpartum care side of things?
Oh, postpartum care came much later. Postpartum care came after I finished my school in holistic health medicine in Germany. And it came natural, but let's say the first period of time, I have been very strong influenced by my parents, I think, because I come from a family of medical doctor, father, and obstetrician, and mother who also had like two completely different areas of work experience. Firstly, software developing and economy, and afterwards psychology. Um, and yes, so I felt very strong push towards, in a way, health. I have been always uh, told as a child, "Oh, you're so sensitive and empathic, like your father. You have to become a medical doctor." But I could not have the idea and the image of working in hospitals. So I wanted to do something that was creative and I was still interested in. And I told myself I'm very influenced from psychology, but I can use it in anything I'm doing and working. So yeah, this is how I just flew in the creative field. And if you think about it, creativity is also very strong connected to birth and life in general. And later on, I discovered well, holistic health medicine is about the vital energy of the human being. So this is really the creative energy of each human. So things are quite connected if you look at from this
Yep,
perspective.
definitely. And
Yeah.
you said that your dad was or is an OB, obstetrician gynecologist. So is that why you started looking more into health of moms, or?
Never. No, I've never imagined that I would take this direction, even of health in general. Like later on, I was thinking much more about psychology because it's just talking to people. It's not about dealing with blood and being in
Yeah.
hospital. um, I have a memory that I have. There's a saying like, "What type of toys you choose to play with." Later on, you're going to kind of Like it's a message what type of profession you're going to have.
Mm.
And I remember I was absolutely not into those and stuff, but for one Christmas I had to have a pregnant Barbie, so it was very specific.
Okay.
And when I remember about it, so well, that was a kind of a sign, but I never thought about it consciously. Also, when I was a teenager and later in my 20s. My father profession, I don't think, well, it's more of his character. Like, I'm very similar to his mild, sensitive, empathic thing. He was also very, had a very strong magnetic field, so he was able to put spoons on his forehead and just stand like that, very, very interesting person. Together with my mother, definitely amazing people that have influenced me. So, yeah, postpartum care coming from finding the reasons of illness. That's how it came.
Okay.
Uh, because in holistic health medicine, this is the main thing, to try to find for reasons for things, not just to treat symptoms. And I think I was so impressed with homeopathy as a medical system that is having this 360-degree overview of the human being. And, you know, you go to a homeopath and you spend 3 hours just speaking about your whole life. So 3 hours investigation, what the reasons are. Like, we don't experience this in a normal, like, you have 5 minutes to speak to a doctor. Who is going to spend 3 hours to speak about topics in relation to your physiology, but also psychology? And this was very impressive. And because it is about to find the reasons, there are questions also about your birth, about the state of the health of your mother when she gave birth to you. And also, it would just pull me to that direction, that reasons for sicknesses come from this time. And then, economically even speaking, what would be better to take care of life and health, not when we are adults and we go in different type of crises, psychologically, physiologically, chronically, but to take care of life and to prevent and to provide wellness instead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I haven't thought about it, but definitely being preventative in that sense.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, and could you now share a bit more about your postpartum care profession that you do? What is it about?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
So it's neither midwifery, neither a doula. I call myself innate postpartum care practitioner because this is the education or the training I went through from. It is taught by a traditional midwife in the States, Rochelle Seliga Garcia, and she's a like midwife official, but she also has learned from traditional midwives from Mexico. And she provides this training that uh, it's bringing knowledge from scientific perspective and traditional perspective. So it's very um, kind of understandable for all type of people. It doesn't matter if they're more mental or if they're more spiritual or interested in alternative ways. It just speaks about different ways to take care of the mother and why it is important so much the mother to be in the center. And also, the specific thing is that I'm providing training to or workshops to prepare for postpartum care because this needs to be planned in advance. It's just too late to come into postpartum um, time and then try to find solutions. The best thing is to mother and partner to take these classes or preparation, but also their community. If this would be grandparents, friends, or just people that they can really trust. So yeah.
Okay, and what exactly would be those workshops? And they're in the period of when the mom is pregnant, right? So it's before she give birth.
Exactly. That would be the optimal. So in the beginning of pregnancy, um, the workshop it can be designed depending if it's like a group or I just work with one family. And you know, it covers the needs of postpartum care, so the five essential needs in postpartum care, which is cross culturally. Like in all researches and information about taking care of mothers after they give birth, there are five essential things, and these are the rest, the body work, nutrition, which needs to be warm and also easy to digest, and also warmth in temperature. And so these are the four, and then the fifth one is community. So if you imagine the four ones, like rest, nutrition, body work, and warmth, as four pillars, right? Like four pillars, then
Yep.
community would be the one holding these four pillars
Hmm.
together. And this is knowledge that is really cross cultural. This is not just invented nowadays to promote, you know, wellness or whatsoever. It comes from tradition, from traditional midwives, which is quite cut from our society as knowledge. And it's there actually to promote health, because back then, that time, there was absolutely this attitude that when there is a mother, a pregnant woman, the whole village comes around the pregnant woman and is helping in during the postpartum time, because you know, she's taking care of a human that is going to be part of the society of the village. So the way she is taken care of is going to be the way how she takes care of her child.
Yep. And by saying that, so you said that you said community, and when I think about community, is does that mean that in the workshop you want extended family or
Yeah.
friends or the closest people to the mom to be there as well?
Yes, it's definitely it is made for partners and their community.
Hmm.
But I find myself often negotiation. What is the word? So just to discuss
Negotiating, yeah,
why, you know, because
yeah,
it's not clear. You know, sometimes mothers are just, "Ah, it's going to be only me, you know, and my husband. I don't know if he is going to have
yeah,
time for that," which is crazy. And the thing is that I'm explaining, well, the people around mothers, they need to know what is going to happen and how they need to take care of this time, how to plan it, so the mother feels co-regulated. Because if people don't know what is happening, uh, there are conflicts happening. And you know, the thing is that the mothers are feeling isolated, not sharing how they feel because they feel misunderstood or misinterpreted. And it's very important for the nervous system of the mother to be co-regulated, and this means people have to have information what is happening at that time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's cross cultured that as well, that we don't actually involve a lot of people when it comes to care of one person in this period, not only in other areas as well. But I wondered, because you come from Bulgaria, you lived in Denmark, now you live in Berlin, which are totally different cultures. uh, According to you, in your own opinion, where would you say that many, like, the differences lie when it comes to community and social support based on culture?
Mhm. We are very open, like Eastern cultures. I think we're really open for that, and we create very fast emotional connection, something that in the West is not so much. So the strength in Western countries and cultures are in organization and planning and like to prepare the resources, you know. But when it's about human resource and human connections and community, I have closer work to South American cultures, and they are really good in this. They're just very easy to organize themselves, like to be together and to help each other together without the expectations of, you know, necessarily exchange something. just because this period is super important and people support each other. But I must admit that I live in Berlin since 2016, and I have had so I have three women in my um, closer environment that became mothers during that period, and they were the only ones that called their mothers, like the future grandmothers, to support them, and they were all of them were Bulgarians. I have never, I have never experienced another culture actually calling the mother in to to receive support. Yeah,
Yeah, I think this is my observation speaking to people from different cultures is that Eastern Europe is quite, it's really common to call the grandma and the grandpa also, and
yeah,
they come to help when you are just, you really need help as a mom, and then the dad is working. So we have this type of stereotypical thing happening. Whereas I've spoken to people from Switzerland, for instance, and they're like, well, we are alone with my husband and we are the only one, and
yeah.
people are saying they feel isolated and alone, but I don't think they have the idea of either even calling
No,
maybe.
no,
So it's
yeah.
it's a cultural thing, it's an innate thing within our culture probably.
I'm not sure about that, to be honest. I am a little bit like thinking in the direction that this comes from colonization and just transgenerational trauma and forgetting about being in contact to ancestors, and integrating them into the life. I cannot track exactly history and how it's really in the past, but village was village, and that now we have the nuclear family model very strong in the West. It's so unnatural and unhealthy, and in the same time accepted as something normal. That there was I have a friend who told me a friend of her, she just got pregnant, and her family would live nearby her whole life. And just after she got pregnant, they moved to another city in the other end of Germany. This speaks about something different here that could be addressed. As reasons could be investigated and try to find the roots of it and try to work with it. Because I have had a training with German family, a mother who was a medical doctor, and her parents as they worked as in the pharma industry their whole life, and it was very interesting how everything started. So they were there to take this course together because she would be a lone mother raising her child, and they wanted to be in her support. But in the very beginning, it was very interesting to see the connection between mother and daughter, and that it was very cool, very off. And during the workshop, because I'm speaking about universal things, which is about all mothers. So this would include also her mother, that the way she had her postpartum time when she was born. And there was so much understanding and empathy that the whole relationship changed. You know, the whole relationship changed from the beginning to the end. It was like a team working together, and the grandparents were very humbled and happy and lucky, because even though they were in the pharma industry and the medical science, everything was new for them. So that was very interesting to see how the relationship shifted through postpartum care training. And I think, to be honest, it's there is also to find the reasons why they feel isolated from grandparents, ancestral lineage, is
Hmm.
because postpartum did not happen well for them. So there's a disconnection of
Yep.
mother
Okay.
child diet. It's you really the postpartum time is about creating the mother child diet. And when this is not taken care of, there is a disconnection. And this is for life. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really hard thing to acknowledge. I mean, to observe in your everyday life and think about it, because it's such a,
Yes.
it's a niche topic and people don't think about it that way, but it makes
Yeah.
sense. And I think you are one of the people that would basically see the difference before and after, working with people that are in this specific, really vulnerable moment of giving birth, and just before that and just after that.
Mm.
Is the Are the workshops happening in the family's home?
It can happen. It can happen also online or just in the place where I work in Berlin, also
Hmm.
during the weekends. Yeah,
And
it would be optimal to be in a home environment, but it depends because sometimes people would just live in a different city, and then it would be better just to make it online. Yeah.
yeah. And I was wondering, do you do so? The workshops are before she give birth, but after that, do you continue in the postpartum period also?
Yeah, so there is the whole workshop is designed to prepare and to make an individual plan for the family. So this is also considered. And then after the birth, there's also like one class that is to catch up and to see how things are going.
Okay.
So yeah.
And you've shared just now with the family, was that because I've talked with you before, and you said that you just started building this as your career. So was that the family that you had really insights from?
Yes, absolutely. This was a very beautiful experience that I had because of just of the remembrance of what postpartum care is, that is so universal for generations. It brings people together, really, and also the community of people. Like, for example, think of expecting mothers and their friends who are not expecting. They don't have experience having children, so for them it will be very beneficial to take part of this time and be people of support, and because this is going to bring them awareness and preparation when they become parents. So it's really how to integrate different type of generation, like different generations, to eliminate this generational gap. This was how it was also before. Like, women would be prepared before they would become mothers because it needs preparation. It's so much going on psychologically
Mm-hmm.
and physiologically, and just creation of family itself. Like, the relationship between partners is changing dramatically, and of course we do need preparation for that. Yeah.
I totally agree. It's just, it got me thinking that I think there would be a huge benefit if we educate our parents, I mean the
Yes,
grandparents in that sense.
absolutely.
Yeah, we've said that before, but thinking about also how it's in Bulgaria or maybe elsewhere as well, where the community is really strong, I'd say that there are people here also lacking boundaries. I mean, that we
Absolutely.
need to
Yes,
educate the
yes,
grandparents
totally.
that there is certain point where you can help, but also
Yeah,
being aware that the mom is experiencing something new and she needs to experience
totally.
it on her own pace.
Yes. So definitely. I can speak so much about that because, yeah, in this workshop, for example, with this family, the parents or the grandparents would just comment on how it was for them, but they, because of the training, they really understood why they need to be focused on their daughter. So the daughter feels seen and heard and understood. Um, and definitely, grandparents, they do have more experience, but the thing is that the expecting mother, is the living experience at this moment in these times. So it's very important to center the mother, who is
Yep.
having the child now, and to not cross these lines because the experience is also very individual. We don't know how things are coming from both lines of families and so on. So just to have this awareness. My mother is a grandmother now. So I speak about this topic a lot because she feels experienced, but I'm always addressing about my sister-in-law. So how is she feeling, if she's stressed or not, like, because she's the center and the way she's feeling is going to direct the whole family dynamic, the children, the partner, everything from, yeah. So
Yep.
yeah,
And I think also we need to acknowledge the generational gap that it's happening,
oh yeah,
especially in our, I mean, in my generation and so my grandma. It's such a
yeah,
different time of raising children. So
absolutely.
especially my grandma's raising my mom, and when I raise my kids, it's such a different thing. So
Thanks God.
it's not it's because of our history also. I mean, I think
Absolutely, yeah.
this is going to be different within different cultures, but here in Bulgaria it's such a different thing. So
Yeah,
it's okay to listen to her, but also tell her, well, everything is different now. I know you've raised children, but not in this specific time, so things will be
yeah,
different.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Definitely, it's definitely very important. You know, my training in postpartum care was 9 months, and during that period, I had to go through my own story. So I had to go through the story of my birth. I had to go through the story of my mother, and then she went to my grandmother and she spoke with her about everything about her birth, and then about my grandmother's birth. You know, everything that was possible to work on through this training, just turn around everything, you know, because we have to have the personal experience and to go really deep into this topic within our lives in order to work with other people. And definitely everything has been so different, and it's very nice to be able to speak about these differences with the different generations, because there is a possibility that to have openness and understanding.
Yep, I think the last word that you just said, understanding, is really crucial in that sense, because
Yeah,
we just feel misunderstood. I mean, many people would feel misunderstood by their parents specifically. So we need to be open, but also they as well. It's just like a communication, as always, to be able
yeah.
to feel understood and not alone. Because yeah, I think that's crucial.
Oh yes, yeah.
I'm really curious to continue the topic towards neuroplasticity, because you've said that you're curious about that. Could you share a bit more what specifically you're interested in and how your interest started?
My my interest also came very spontaneously during COVID time 2020 as postpartum care. I did the both things in the same time. I did a specialization in neurographica, which is neuroplasticity method that combines psychology and art. And I took the basic course, which I loved. I was able to work with myself, and then the specialization gives me the permission to work with people and to coach them with neuroplasticity. And you know, the biggest advantage of this is that I, before starting working with people, I use this method almost every day. So every time, like when I go home, for example, I would just think of situations in my daily life, and I would try to investigate, okay, like if I get triggered or some situation was there that was challenging for me, or I needed to make some changes in my life, I really worked on it, and it was almost every day. So I was very interested, and also very strong impressed by this method, how fast it can work and tap you in your subconscious mind and just make you see how your neural connections are built, you know, because our neural connections, the neural system is built the first 7 years of our life. So the way we are relating to each other, the way we are behaving in our coping mechanisms coming from the first 7 years of life. And this is not what we need in the current time, you know. We need updates in our software, just like our softwares gets updates almost every week. And it was amazing just to explore, okay, how things are connected in my mind. And then I started working with other people, and mostly, of course, I do one-on-one, but it's very fascinating to work in groups of people, because you really see how our nervous systems are connected and how people start to interact and reflect on their work and how all this is connected. So yes, and of course, and then I found information about neuroplasticity during postpartum time for both parents, and that was like, whoa, I am. This is still on the right track. Like I need to explore more about that. And yeah, there is so much going on in the parental brain to be able to respond emotionally, you know. So this is the main change that is happening in the brain, and also the change about being able um, to be very productive, like to be multitasking. This is something very interesting that is happening. And this is a biological phenomenon. So, a boom of neuroplasticity
Hmm.
in the postpartum time.
I'm curious because you've heard probably the mom brain or like the phenomenon of the
Yeah,
mom brain.
yeah,
Because I read recently that, yes, because there are a lot of changes happening, and because you're constantly thinking, like having on the back of your mind this one tab open about taking care of your kid, and besides all the other things, so the mental load of
yeah.
cleaning, taking out the trash, or anything that's in your mind, you have this tab constantly open, so your cognitive functions are a bit slower. As having all those tabs on my laptop open, it always makes it slower. Is that what you think?
I do observe a shift of changes in behavior of parents after giving birth, being much more emotional. Yes, in some way they are slower, maybe, but depends. Like, also, my observation is, you know, that this boom of neuroplasticity, which is happening, it's to create this bond with the child and to be responsive to the needs of the child. And what happens is that this first 3 years of time usually is interrupted by the mother needing to go back to work. So I would. So this is biological need. You know, this is something that biology is doing it for mother and child, and at the same time, this brain power, which I think multitasking is absolutely something that I observe in families. Both parents are so. In families can be so prone to multitasking on many different levels. It's not just about children, it's about work, it's about everything that needs to be done, and you feel that they're on the edge, but they continue, you know, like, and I feel, oh my god, it's like different species of people. If you look at their brain, brains for sure they're completely different from ours. And something which made me think about, well, is this biological gift just being outsourced to companies, for example, where the mothers need to work to provide food, you know, to this neuroplasticity, being able to see things from many perspectives and to be multitasking. Yeah, it's something that I've been thinking about, and I met with a neuroscientist here who also works as a doula in Berlin, and she was like, "Yeah, that's really like that." Yeah, because it's a biological gift for humans. It's not just to be open for everything and all the needs of the society regarding businesses, for example.
Yeah. Um, I think it makes sense because when I read about the mom brain, it also came up with the fact that after becoming a parent, after a bit of time when you start adjusting to your new role and everything, actually you have better cognitions, and your decision making is so much faster than before and
Yeah.
above the average when we compare it to people that are not parenting. So
Yes.
definitely we acquire new skills when we became a parent. But it
Absolutely.
makes sense.
Yeah, a friend of mine in Denmark who gave birth after second birth, and she went back to work and she said, "I have done so much I haven't before, you know." So they can reflect that they're also very multitasking at work, that they can deal with a lot. Yeah.
They have to be honest. I think it's just because
Yeah.
we actually need those resources to take care of kids. So
Yes. Yeah.
um yeah, it is fascinating. And I think what your topic about the brain during pregnancy and after in the postpartum period, there are not enough research, so it's quite a heat and hot topic if
Yeah.
you ask me. So that's quite interesting. And
Yeah.
coming
So
I'm just quite curious, what do you see in the future of like what do you want to do specifically? Where do you want to go with that? Do you have a specific topic that you want to see, or I'm just
yes,
curious.
I really want to have more practical experience with parents because I have just started that with neuroplasticity. I mean, I have just started with that and I'm very curious. I mean, I do work with clients and groups that are not necessarily parents. And in like going through neuroplasticity and seeing how people are shifting, what topics are concerning them. But parents are really like different species. So I did this workshop with newborn parents and neuroplasticity, and the point was about to put yourself in the center, and then to put the family afterwards, and then to put the society afterwards, and then from the center you create these connections. So I get a lot of, I mean, they get a lot of insight. I get a lot of insights about their state and how they reflect by doing this work. And one of main thing was like, wow, it feels like so new that I am in the center. So the exercise was like first you, then the family, then the society. There is a specific order, it's it's normal, but the experience of both parents, because they were also their partners there, well, the experience was that it was very difficult to suddenly to see the things from perspective where I'm in the center, and it felt good, but it's quite new because they reflected, well, I used to put first my work and then the family needs, but also what the society thinks, and it feels much better to. So there is regarding your question, there is a lot to that I can investigate through my work, and for me this is also kind of a research and study, just to work practically with newborn parents with neuroplasticity, um, because because of the
Yeah.
boom of neuroplasticity, and also because it's really important to promote, well, it's good to work on topics that for you are challenging in, for example, in your childhood or with your parents, in order to create new neural connections so you don't repeat, for example, the generational trauma. So people can
Yeah.
work on different topics like their community, if they feel supported, their relationship, how they imagine their family life, do they get enough rest, like all these important topics that are, uh, yeah, there
Yeah.
to reflect.
Um, I want to ask a bit more in detail. What exactly do you do in those sessions with neuroplasticity? So, what exactly happens?
So exactly what happens, there is always an intention. There is always an intention that we begin to work with, and in that workshop, it was about like to see what has changed, what has become different after giving birth, so they become more clear about it, and all the levels of the consciousness, like it's there is like structure, so it's easy to be followed by men and women and people who have or don't have experience in drawing and stuff, because we are just drawing neural lines, and each step the algorithm is based on the levels of the consciousness mind. So each step it will be exploring a new dimension of yourself and how you're connected to the people around you. So in the end, people feel so relieved by just having this mental clarity. It's very intensive because you just have it in front of you, like you come with a topic to work on, you have an intention, so you put energy on something that is really important for you, and then you see how this is in your mind, and then from there to I'm guiding the people, well, the time now is to, how would you like to change this, in which direction? And then people would feel really empowered about, well, I'm changing my neural connections and my beliefs and everything who I am, and I am free creative being. Like in the beginning we spoke about creative energy, and really this is the vital energy and that moves, and people know what they need, you know. When they are asked and when they see things clearly, they just start to speak from their subconscious mind. So it's a very deep, holistic, and just full of results. Like it helped me so much. So that's why I say I must do this also with other people, definitely. So yeah.
Sounds really interesting and also a bit complex, but I think how long is one session?
So it's up to 2 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also so it's actually a long time and space where a person can feel
Yes.
comfortable to go deeper and deeper. That's
Oh
what.
yes. And it goes really fast deep, you know, like it goes super fast deep. So the whole time you use, okay, so how I'm going to recreate from the knowledge how things are happening in my subconscious mind, you know. And it's
Yeah.
not just a hypnose, it's something that people see visually, and they use their hand to do new neural connections, so they feel actually the active part. And this is very strong working on the self-confidence of people because they are doing it themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, as we wrap up, because our time is coming to an end, I wanted to ask you one last question, which is about your postpartum care specialism, let's say, or expertise. So, what is the one thing, if you have to name one thing, what is it that is so important during the actually pregnancy period that can be really helpful for parents when they have the baby? And what advice would you give to achieve this one thing that's really important?
Oh, just one. That's
Yes.
difficult. Nervous system regulation. That would be the thing. Being aware about the nervous system, how they respond to things, how they regulate, and how the unit regulate itself. So they know how to deal in stress situations. And also nervous system, but then there's the social nervous system, which would be how do we connect to other people and what type of people we want to be connected to. This is super important, absolutely important. Yeah.
Okay. I think
Yes, so
that's
nervous
really helpful.
system. Yes.
I think about what you said about the social also, it's so important when you this vulnerable and having this really stressful period becoming a parent. It's really important with who are you surrounding yourself with, because that's the
Yes,
baby also surrounding with as
this
well in the
energy,
future.
yeah. Yes, definitely. Yes.
Thank you so much, Videlina. That
Thank
was
you too.
fascinating and really insightful.
Thank you
So
so much.
yeah, I really appreciated being a guest on my podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Until next time. Bye.